I didn't believe in ghosts or cursed objects. Who would? They're stories, myths to scare kids and entertain thrill seekers. But that was before I encountered Annabelle. I was a university student in Connecticut, working part-time at a local museum dedicated to the paranormal. The museum housed all sorts of oddities: old trinkets, cursed items, and bizarre objects people claimed were haunted. The most notorious of these was Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll locked behind a glass case. The stories about her were infamous. People swore she moved on her own, wrote eerie messages on walls, and even attacked visitors. The museum played it up for the crowds, of course, but none of us who worked there took it seriously. Annabelle was just a creepy doll. That was it, until I had my shift alone with her. It was a slow Sunday afternoon. The usual guide was sick, so I was covering the shift solo. The museum was dead quiet, pun intended. I finished my rounds, turning off the lights and making sure all the exhibits were in place. When I reached Annabelle's case, I felt a chill run down my spine, as if the air around her was colder. Her button eyes stared back at me, lifeless but somehow unnerving. I shook off the feeling and closed up the museum, locking the front door behind me. I was about to head home when the security camera monitor in the back caught my eye. Something was moving inside the museum. My heart skipped. There shouldn't have been anyone inside. I flipped through the cameras, scanning each room, and then I saw it. Annabelle's case, the one that was supposed to be locked, was open. I froze. The doll wasn't inside. I checked the monitors again, thinking maybe it was a glitch or prank. But on the screen, the doll stood in the middle of the room. My breath caught in my throat. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears as I stared at the screen. Her head seemed tilted, her stitched smile mocking me. I knew I had to go inside, but every fiber of my being screamed to run. I grabbed the keys and reluctantly walked back into the museum. The silence was oppressive. My footsteps echoed, and each step made my skin crawl with dread. When I reached the exhibit room, I saw her. Annabelle was sitting on the floor, facing away from me. How was this even possible? I had locked the case. There were no other doors or windows. I approached cautiously, holding my breath, my hands shaking as I reached for her. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The air grew heavy, thick with a presence I couldn't describe. It felt like I wasn't alone, like something was watching, lurking just behind me. I turned quickly, expecting to see someone, but the room was empty. When I turned back to the doll, she was now staring directly at me. Her head had turned. I dropped the keys and stumbled back, my mind racing. It wasn't possible. Dolls don't move on their own. But as I tried to rationalize what I was seeing, the lights flickered again, and I heard it, a soft, childlike giggle. I ran. I sprinted out of that museum, not caring about the alarm or the keys I left behind. I didn't stop running until I was safely locked inside my car. My hands were trembling so violently I could barely start the engine. I quit the next day. I couldn't go back in there. I couldn't face her again. But the nightmares? They didn't stop. Every night, I dreamt of Annabelle, her small, stitched hands reaching for me, her cold, lifeless eyes staring into mine. Sometimes, I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I could hear that same giggle echoing through my room. I've tried telling myself it wasn't real, that it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But deep down, I know the truth. Annabelle isn't just a doll. She's something far darker, and whatever it is, it's still watching.